Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Master of Science in Counseling Student Panel webinar. My name is Eliel Costa. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm an Assistant Director of Admissions here at Johns Hopkins School of Education. So we're excited here today to offer you a firsthand look at what it looks like to be a student here in our MS in School Counseling. And our goal for this panel here today is to give you an honest and insider's perspective of our program. So you'll be able to hear, from different experiences from students, whether it's, related to classroom experiences, relationships with faculty members, program, right, internship opportunities. So this is going to be a great opportunity for you to ask any questions that you might have about the program and gain that insider perspective from our students and also a faculty member. So just to kind of share a roadmap here on what the next hour looks like here together, I'm going to go ahead and allow our faculty member to introduce themselves, and then we'll start with our student introductions and then go right into our student panel with pre-selected questions. But we will have an opportunity for the audience here today to ask any questions through the question and answer function here in the Zoom. So as we kind of go through that student panel and as your own questions arise, feel free to use that function here on the Zoom. Some housekeeping items before I move forward is that this session is being recorded, so it will be available after today's session. For anyone who's participating in today's webinar, you will receive an email within a few business days with recording for your own reference. So I'm going to go ahead and get us started here and have Dr. Lauka introduce himself. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. And I wasn't sure if I was supposed to turn on my, well, maybe I'll just keep that off since you can see my picture. And welcome all. Really glad that you're interested in the program. My name is Dr. Justin Lauka. I'm a clinical assistant professor in the counseling program. I teach primarily in the clinical mental health counseling side of the courses and program. So courses that I teach include cognitive behavioral therapy. I teach counseling theories, and I do a lot of clinical supervision as well once students get into practicum and internship in their field work. My research focus is primarily around clinical supervision, clinical training, and how to best support and promote professional and educational standards nationwide. And that's a little bit about me. Welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Locke. So now I'm going to go ahead and have our current students here introduce themselves. So for both of our students, if you both can share your web camera and then go ahead and get started, share what year you're in, where you're coming from, and what track you're following here in the MS in counseling.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yaila Best. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a third-year part-time student in the clinical mental health track, and I'm also on the CSI board as the part-time student representative. So if you're part-time and have any questions, or if you're planning on being part-time and have any questions, please feel free to reach out.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Akanksha and I use she, her pronouns. I'm in the second year of the clinical mental health counseling track. And nice to see you here, Yarala. And also, I'm on the CSI board as well, and I'm the International Student Committee chair. So my work's basically interacting a little more with international students and ensuring that they're well settled into the course, the honor society. And yeah, please feel free to reach out to me with any questions.
Thank you to the both of you. So Dr. Locke, if you can kind of lead us in here with our pre-selected questions into this student panel. And then as you kind of do that, I will go ahead and watch the Q&A and, prompt some of those questions as they arise.
Wonderful, thank you. And so I'll just kick us off with just a broad question. As you're considering going into the counseling field, what appealed to you the most about the counseling program at Johns Hopkins in particular?
I can go first. So right now I am working in higher education at Hopkins. I'm an associate director for the Success Coaching Program and Academic Advising, where we work with first generation and or limited income students and helping them to be successful and meet their goals. And I've been working in higher education for over a decade. And what I really, really, really love about this field is connecting with students and having deeper conversations with them. And in thinking about my next steps, moving on to counseling to focus on the relationship building and those deeper conversations is just where I decided to land. And I'm looking forward to finishing out and continuing doing that work. And so in terms of Hopkins, other than the fact that I work here, I also really liked when I looked at the courses and the faculty and saw diverse faces, diverse interests, looking at what different faculty members were, researching and their backgrounds made me feel like I would have a well-rounded experience in terms of perspectives from the professors here, and that is the experience that I have been getting so far. So happy about that.
Thank you. Akanksha?
Hopkins was one of the first places that I'd applied to during my entire application process. And the fact that it was KCREP accredited and it was a 3-year program was something that drove me a little more towards applying. The fact that it's also a STEM program right now is a cherry on the top. But a variety of the courses, a good blend of using the medical model and also being able to conduct therapy without it. The way it's an application-focused course, all the techniques that we get to practice in class. So I had another senior who spoke to me about how all of this worked. So then I thought that it fit very well with how I'd like to go ahead with as a student and as a professional. Then the fact that we have a field experience when it comes to the practicum and the internship, we get to choose if we want to work in a hospital setting, a private practice, or a clinic. I think having that freedom yet having that structure makes it easier. I'm somebody who works well with structure, so probably having that structure that yes, you have to do it, but these are your options, I think suit me very well. And Hopkins, the course at Hopkins provided that. So yeah, that appealed to me quite a bit about the program.
Thank you. So it sounds like there's a balance between structure, but also a range of options and autonomy in terms of being able to choose, particularly when it comes to your field work. And, one of the things that I think that this highlights is just the flexibility and the transferability in terms of the skills. It sounds so you came from the student affairs background and working with students at Hopkins, and certainly there's a lot of transferability in that, and a lot of people end up going into college counseling, and so having the background can make one even more effective in the work that they do. Thank you. So I'm going to move on to the next question. So now thinking about the coursework that you all are engaged in, and of course you inevitably, I know you're all in leadership and CSI. There are many different things you have your hands in. Can you talk a little bit about just the amount of the workload in general as being a student here in this program, and what does that look like in terms of time per week, as well as maybe types of projects that you're engaged in?
I can go first. So when it comes to how much time I spend per week studying, very honestly, I think I'd like to break it a little more day-wise. Completing readings if I get to do all of my readings and the assignments, that would be about at least 2 to 3 hours a day, apart from class hours. And if not like with class, then it probably takes up the entire day, but otherwise just about 2 to 3 hours. And some of the typical assignments and deadlines look like they require a lot of self-reflection. So that was something that was very new to me coming from my undergraduate. So a lot of self-reflection, looking at theory and connecting it to the application as to how I would apply it in real life with a client. It also required a lot of deliberate writing, critical thinking, and I realized that last minute work does not work well with most of our assignments. So spacing them out well, and definitely during assignments, probably instead of 2 to 3 hours, about 4 hours a day studying, completing homework. But yeah, that's what it will look like.
Yes, and since I'm a part-time student, it looks a little different in terms of how much time per day. I would say probably like maybe 3 days out of the week, 3 or 4 days out of the week, I'm doing about 2 to 3 hours of work rather than daily. And a lot of the courses, depending on if it's a lab course or not. So the lab courses focus on like your technique. So there's recordings that you have to do, like mock counseling sessions and recordings, and then you transcribe it and analyze it. So I would say those types of projects really do take up the most time. Other than that, you know, reflection, which is really nice to start off the program with getting to know yourself. That is really, it's critical in being an effective counselor, is knowing who you are, why you're doing this work, being aware of how you will, you know, interact with your clients. And so I would say it's more writing than exams. And I would say they have more of the assignments, even if they're not about self-reflection, they still feel more personal than I would say other writing assignments I have done in the past.
You know, you both are hitting on some really important things that I'd like to just explore a little bit more with you, especially noting this idea of self-reflection activities and assignments, and how that may be very different from those coming straight from undergrad, or even career switchers that may have been in a completely different sector, a different field. Would you mind sharing a little more about, you know, what you have seen as the perceived utility and the rationale for engaging in self-reflection, and how that corresponds to, you know, preparing you as a counselor?
I think there's a couple of reasons why it's very important, including kind of finding your grounding in why you're doing the work that you're doing, making sure it's coming from, you know, an authentic place, finding your skills and where you need to grow, and where you're passionate about, because there are different areas in the field that you can get into, but also in terms of finding your theory, see what theories you align with. It's important to understand your values and how you view the world in terms of, you know, when you're working with clients, what is the belief that's driving your sessions or that's driving your work with them, as well as, it slipped my mind. Let me think for one more second. I can't remember. Might think of it in a second, so but I'll pass it on for now.
I agree with a lot of what was being said. And I'm also thinking of the intentionality behind it, as to what my intention is to be a counselor. Why am I choosing this course? What am I doing? So a lot of self-reflection gives me the time to also introspect and look back at if I choose to be a cognitive behavioral therapist, or if I choose to be a gestalt therapist, why am I choosing that? What technique or intervention about it is something that clicks well with me, and would I be able to generalize it, or also then tailor it to certain clients? So yeah, I think with all the assignments, it gives you some time to also get included in the type of therapy and theory that you're using, because it's such a personal conversation that we have with our clients. And if you're not genuine about it, if you don't know the intention behind it, I think, yeah, that might not be very helpful. So yeah, the self-reflection aspect really helps with most assignments.
Thank you. Yeah, did it come back to you?
Yes. So also, what's important is, you'll be working with diverse clients. So there's a lot of focus on, multiculturalism in counseling. So understanding your own background, your own biases, your own experience and how they have affected your worldview, and understanding how those things might affect your relationship with your client, are easier to identify and understand, and help fight against if you've already done the deep reflection to really get to know yourself, because we don't want to do harm to our clients. So it's important to understand where you're coming from to ensure that you're working against that.
Very good point. I really appreciate that. There's this idea that when we are dealing and working with people and needing to facilitate change, there are very specific philosophical and theoretical assumptions behind what it means for change to occur in what context. And if we don't have our own sense of understanding of our own worldview and the assumptions that we operate off of, oftentimes we're going to just operate off of those assumptions, and unfortunately these can include our own biases that can impose our values and our own cultural assumptions and worldview on others. Yeah, thank you. That the next question would have been is around assignments, and so typical range of assignments. So we're ahead of the game here. I noticed you both talked a little bit about lab courses. Would you mind sharing a little more about what that entails? And because I think that's another thing that's probably a little different from other institutions in undergrad. So that would be helpful.
Okay. So speaking about lab courses, so we have that for certain courses such as counseling techniques, be it CBT or group. So what we do is we have the opportunity to practice counseling skills that range from active listening to broaching to actually identifying automatic thoughts, addressing them, knowing how to start and end a session. And these are more, again, as I think both of us have been seeing, that it's a very application-based course. So it gives you a lot of room for trial and error, and you know that you can try out what suits you best. And you also get to have the same client, rather your classmate, your colleague, who's also your same client, but you also get to work with different people. So you know how there is no one right answer to the entire counseling aspect. You get to try new things. You get to try new ways to start a session, end a session. You learn time limits. You learn how to stick to it. So that's what a lab course entails. And it's basically, yeah, including a lot of skills that we learn, and not just reading about them, but also using them so we know how to better ourselves.
Yeah, exactly that. And I would just add that for some lab courses, you are recording privately, and then analyzing and also presenting in class a clip from it and talking about what you think you did well, improvements, things like that. And then there's other courses like group counseling or couples and family therapy, for example, where you're doing counseling in class. So like group, you and your classmates lead each other in group counseling throughout the semester, which is really nice. And I think that was a very important experience for me, and also being like, I like this group thing. And then in couples right now, we have different families. We made up, what's going on in our families, and we like switch out who's counseling the families or the couple. And with that specifically, we use a technique that we're learning about that week. So like Akanksha said, being able to apply it immediately and see how, make mistakes and get tips on how to do things more authentically rather than just from how you read it in the book has been really valuable.
If I may add one thing, Dr. Lauka, I
Yeah.
was also thinking about how we learn about the legal aspects of it when it comes to confidentiality, when it comes to ensuring you have an ironclad informed consent form. Of course, those are things that can always be edited and updated. But as licensed professionals, and now since we're taking ethics and legal issues in counseling, I think that becomes so important because you need to know what has to be reported to either the police or the legal institutions, or they need to be hospitalized for a certain reason. So if we don't know all of that, and if we don't practice having such conversations with our clients, I don't think it'll be easier for it to just come right on the moment. So ensuring that all of this structure is very important to the lab course. And when we get a chance to practice it, it makes it easier for us to continue in the future.
Thank you. Yeah, I think you're both raising just the sheer number of varied and within varying degrees of high stakes clinical situations that we place you in that are not high stakes, that are purposely low stakes to encourage you to fail and to learn and to get feedback in a supportive environment, so that when it is in a more real high stake environment, you're able to apply these skills and integrate them. Wonderful. Thank you. Anything else come to mind before I move on in terms of other types of assignments that you would expect? I think we covered most of it, but just give you an opportunity. All right, sounds like we're good. Let's move on. I'm curious, could you share a little bit more about what is the faculty communication, connection, interactions like, and if either of you are involved in research within the School of Ed, what that entails, what that those experiences were like?
I would say so. So far in the program, I've had really great interactions with my professors, whether it's talking about an assignment or going deeper into. So I'm interested in like social justice issues. So, and there's a lot of questions about ethics in counseling and how we diagnose and how people are charged and things like that. So I've had some really great conversations with my classmates and professors, even before, after class, during break. And then, I've continued to keep in contact with them, and everyone that I've worked with or had the pleasure of having taken their class. We have really great conversations that I still think about to this day, again, because they're coming from different perspectives and giving their own personal experience with working in the field. I think that's also another thing I love. They have to be counselor educators, and so they've had the experience and can talk about, okay, this is what the book says, but this is what it actually looks like in application, especially in these like social justice, multicultural areas. I am currently on a research team, but haven't really started. But that was just through connecting. And I have other opportunities with other professors just by connecting and talking about interests and from participating in class, or maybe even a professor seeing something in a paper being like, let's talk about this more. I would love to see where your mind is with this. And so yes, I would say just talking and connecting. There's some happy hours and things like that you could also attend to see them outside the classroom.
I agree with a lot of what was being said. And I'm also thinking about how just being proactive is one thing that I learned over the last 1.5 years is if there's anything, all I have to do is just send an email and reach out. And then things can be figured out from then. Like when it comes to my faculty advisor and my mentor, sending an email saying, hey, I'm having a tough week, I don't think I'll be able to get the assignment in, is also a good enough conversation to then probably either get a deadline extension or submit just a part of it so that there's some sort of accountability. Reaching out to professors, not just in the School of Education, but also outside. I think constant emailing is something that's worked best for me. And I used to shy away from sending a second email, but I do understand that most professors have so much going on. So many students are probably not feeling shy about sending a second email and be like, hey, just asking you for an update. It's been a week. Could you help me out with this? And I've not had a single instance where a professor has not reached out and said that, okay, this is how we could go ahead. And when it comes with assistant deans or the SEAM office, every other office, just I think reaching out to them. I'm also, I TA'd a while ago, but that was with another school entirely. That was the Whiting School of Engineering. But again, reaching out, emailing, seeing how you fit well. As long as we're able to give a good rationale, as long as we're able to show that we're interested enough and passionate enough, they see no harm in one also hiring us as an RA or a TA. I'm also an RA with a joint project with the School of Education and the Whiting School of Engineering right now. So again, just so many opportunities, but if I am not proactive, then I don't think those opportunities are going to come fall in my lab. Just reaching out, and like me and my mentor have meetings every week because they're also my professor. So I just get to class 5 minutes before time and we talk. So how's courses going? Helping choose electives, because as international students, that becomes a little tricky as well, considering keeping enough number of credits, talking to the OIS. So as long as the faculty mentor and the academic advisor are in, they know what's happening with us, I think we're good to go with everything. Yeah.
Thank you. It sounds like there's opportunities that sometimes organically evolve in classrooms, outside of the classroom, but the level of willingness and openness when reaching out to faculty is there for a wide range of opportunities to connect and collaborate. Wonderful. I'm gonna leave it, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to come in here. We do have a few questions here from our audience. I figured this would be kind of a nice break here from our preset questions. So I've been kind of looking over and answering a few as we've kind of gone through the program. But I do notice a trend here, and maybe Dr. Laka, maybe you can kind of give some insight on this kind of question that I keep seeing arise through the chat. Is there a reason why our program is 3 years versus 2 years compared to some other schools in the area?
That's a great question, and certainly there's a reason. I can tell you that the initial reason was a deliberate and intentional result of a planning with the faculty regarding what we really want to be able to provide for students and the amount of time needed. And with counseling, we think there's a lot involved in terms of growth and development that occurs throughout the program. Some of the assignments that were addressed in terms of self-reflection, self-examination, the skills that need to be applied and integrated, that culminates in practicum internship. We really want to allow time for that to really be assimilating. We want to best position students for success. I will also say that is something that we do as a faculty have revisited, and we're looking at and benchmarking across what are national standards with other programs. And of course, this is not an accreditation requirement. There's very little in terms of timelines. But what we're looking at is what feels best as a program to meet our mission, which may or may not change in the future, certainly.
Thank you, Dr. Laka. And the other question, and I can take this one, and I'll give the three of you a break here. So one of the general questions I see in the chat box is regarding the admissions process in terms of what we look for in an applicant. So I'm just briefly going to give a quick minute or two overview of what the application process looks like. If you want to talk further for the audience here, I will drop my appointment calendar in the chat box after I'm done here. So feel free to schedule a one-on-one appointment, and we can discuss your application further in a kind of a one-on-one basis. But in terms of the application process, we only admit students in the fall. So our next opening is fall of 2025, with the deadline being January 8th of 2025. So in order to be reviewed, you do have to submit a complete application. So you can complete an app through our website, through the School of Education. We will require an essay that has 4 questions that we'll ask you to answer. We will also ask you to identify and request 2 letters of recommendation. And then we will also be looking at your cumulative GPA from your undergraduate career, or even if you've attempted courses at a graduate level or completed a graduate level program. So we are looking for a 3.0 GPA is what we like to see on our candidates. And then we also do look at the essay and the letters of recommendation as part of our admissions decisions process. So hopefully that gives everyone kind of an idea of what that looks like. I'm trying to think what else I saw there in the chat box. In terms of scholarship and financial aid, when we review students, we do ask students to fill out a scholarship application, which you'll be prompted to complete as you fill the admissions application. And then we also encourage domestic students or students that are eligible to submit the FAFSA to Johns Hopkins School of Education. At that point, we will review both domestic and international students for both merit and need-based scholarships. We do like to be transparent with students. All of our scholarships are partially based. We don't offer fully funding opportunities with the MS in counseling. We also additionally will be having a financial aid session, kind of like a how to fund your graduate level degree program in the School of Ed webinar in the next 2 weeks. So visit our website. I'll try to drop them also additionally in this chat box. So if you kind of want to learn more about how graduate school works in terms of financial aid, I would definitely encourage you to attend one of those sessions. So again, kind of just wanted to give a quick spew there about the admissions process, but let's go ahead and return Dr. Laka if you want to go back into the preset questions as I kind of look at the next set of Q&As.
Sounds good. Well, so I'm curious if you all could just, and this is something that may take a little reflection, but what challenges or obstacles have you faced in the program, and how did you successfully overcome the challenges or obstacles?
I would say, as someone working full-time and part-time, that, balancing everything, creating a schedule that works for myself, and, my other obligations, is a challenge that I have to face each semester, depending on, when classes are scheduled. I have had semesters that worked really well in terms of when I could dedicate certain days to work or be in the mindset to get things done after class. And then I've had other semesters where it's just every week I have to just see what happens. So consistency in terms of balancing life with school has been a challenge, but just, remembering what has worked, giving myself grace, knowing that sometimes you can't get everything done, but still like try to hit the gym has been important because, you have to work, take care of your own mental health throughout all of that. So making sure that I'm keeping up with my appointments with my therapist and considering my own wellness while learning about these other things. Sometimes you have to take a step back. I took behavioral medicine and health psychology over the summer, and I'm reading about how stress affects your health. I should, maybe, dial it back a little bit or think more about how I want to take care of myself. And I would also say, again, from a part-time student perspective, that there are courses that are taught at on a certain schedule. So it might only be offered in the spring or only in the fall. And just making sure that, you're in communication with your advisor, but also like paying attention to, if you look up classes and when they were offered last, then, you want to make sure that you're doing, what you can in order to try to prevent something not being offered. That was an issue for a group of us part-time students in terms of taking one course, but we worked with our advisors and we were able to get a section this fall. So that was nice. Won't always happen, but you have to speak up about your needs. So being vocal with whether it's someone on the CSI board or your advisor, you have to advocate for yourself, and to make sure that you're getting what you need out of the program. Ask about resources. Accommodations are a thing. Even if you don't have, whether you have accommodations or not, like being honest with your professors, and they will work with you. That has been a good thing about having, I guess, counselors for professors, that, folks are open to working with you, and understand that we all have a lot going on. You want to be your best self while you're doing this really critical work. So I would say all of those things has to do with, taking care of self and advocating for your own needs.
Well, a lot of similar points. I'm just going to have to filter a few out. But yes, I would like to reiterate that yes, figuring out your own schedule when it comes to, I'm a full-time student, but I'm also an international student. So I do have work hour limitations. I have only 20 hours on my work visa, but managing part-time jobs and also a full-time course is not easy because you have 4 theory heavy, assignment heavy courses. You have classes that you have to take on specific days. We do have the freedom to choose certain hours, but yes, the summer semester is something that I found a bit challenging. So we can take, I think we had online courses. We can take online courses because which are for 3 credits, but then you have to ensure that after your 3rd semester, you need to maintain a certain amount of credits so that you can stay in the country. So that is one of the challenges that I faced, but yeah, I got through it. So now I know when I can take courses, electives. A little bit of struggle that I had coming from my undergrad was figuring out how to write a like I had never written a paper in the first person point of view. So right, I think so. I feel so. Critical thinking, APA formatting, those are certain things that initially a lot of us needed help with because we've probably worked for a few years and then got back. So that was one of the challenges that we tried. And then there's a writing center at Hopkins, especially now. I think recently there's one open for just School of Education students. So getting help from them is also a good option. And I'm thinking along the lines of ensuring that I kept my weekends free. I enjoy my long weekends, so I try finishing most classes. I take 1 class a day and finish most classes Monday to Thursday. So I have a long weekend. Fridays, Saturdays can be a little bit of work, catching up, but Sundays are self-care Sundays. Take a break, travel, go on a hike, visit family, friends, socialize, which is so integral to the student life more than just becoming a counselor, a therapist. You're also a student here and you have 3 years. Going for events on campus, off campus, exploring new places. I think integrating that. Initially, there's so much happening and so much academic work happening, so many commitments that you have to stick to. So it might get a little overwhelming, but figuring out a schedule was a little challenging. But once you get into the pace of it, once you get to know your core group, your academic group, your transportation, your stay, your food, it gets easier. But these were some of the challenges that I faced as an international student who was also working 20 hours and was a full-time student, but it gets manageable. It is manageable, yeah. Structure helps.
Well, I appreciate both your responses. You're really touching on several important themes that at least come up for me. You talking about the demands and the significant demands and certainly unique demands to your own context and your experiences and your personal life and how to balance all that. It also seems to underscore just the person of the counselor that we try to cultivate all to be, and how that shows up, and how balance and self-care, these are the very things that we want to promote and support in our clients. And there's almost a sense of dissonance when we don't act in accordance with that. And so recognizing that, and I really like the thing you said, having grace on yourself, you said earlier, which, yeah, being kind and gentle to ourselves, and learning ways to just be okay with imperfection. I think a lot of students come into this program, and grad school in general, just the high drive and a high being used to succeed at a very high level, and just being okay with not always reaching everything perfectly, as if there's a thing called perfection in this world, which there's not. And I also appreciate you hearing just this idea of advocacy and advocating for yourself. And of course, we want to advocate for our clients, but also for ourselves in situations where there is a need and there can be a potential solution, and knowing you can reach out to faculty, and if we can make changes, we will, to support you all. I'm going to shift to this next question. I'm curious, in your experience, what's been your favorite part of the program here, Johns Hopkins?
I can go. So, yes, I enjoy the courses, and definitely that's one of the major reasons that I'm here. The flexibility. I think, yeah, flexibility and accountability are two terms that are coming to my mind. Flexibility in terms of being able to choose the sort of therapist that you want to be at the school. I mean, of course, at the School of Education, but also through the course, you get to pick and choose. You can definitely choose an eclectic approach, yes, but you get to pick and choose the sort of electives that you want, which can complement your major courses. The flexibility to, again, reach out to your professors and say, hey, this is something that didn't sit well with me. Do you think I could work around this in another manner? The flexibility to so I'm thinking of this very recent scenario where I was unwell, and then I said, I don't think I can make it to class. I don't have the energy. And usually you have to be there in person for everything, but when you're really unwell and you really want to attend an important discussion, there was this half an hour that my professor made space and said, okay, you can join us through Zoom for half an hour. But I was able to be a part of that important conversation too. So again, the flexibility around that, and I think accountability when it comes not just through attendance, but if I'm not there for a specific session due to whatever reason, because the small cohort sizes, class sizes rather, the professor knows you and they get in touch with you and they check up on you like, hey, I see that your assignment's probably due, late for the second time. Are you okay? Are you able to get through it? Accountability in terms of, hey, I didn't see you in class today, and I don't think you sent me an email either. Are you going to be there? Are you late? Is there something we can do to help? So getting that sort of flexibility and accountability through professors, friends, future colleagues at Hopkins and the School of Education, served to be very helpful for me. It was nice to know that, as long as we reach out, there's always a way to work around things. So that was, I think, my favorite part my favorite part at Hopkins.
Yes, and I would say, I talked about it already, but the connections that I've been able to make with professors and with my classmates, in particular, like that we have part-time people, we don't really have a cohort, but we kind of have a cohort. We end up taking a lot of evening classes together. And so we've been able to, expand upon what we've been talking about in class. And it's been nice that, the people that I see consistently are also into like social justice issues. So we'll like stay back and again talk to the professor, and that could turn into different things. One professor that I had last year just released a book, and she shouted us out by name. So and it's really been inspiring in terms of looking at the work that your different professors are doing. They're doing incredible things and getting ideas. Even some of these projects spark ideas that you really want to be like, well, when I, am done with this, this is something that I can actually do that I can actually implement, especially now, given the day, thinking about a group retreat that I had proposed in my group class. I'm like, this is something that I really want to start looking into eventually implementing. So I think it's been, and you get what you put in. But if you really, the professors are authentic and caring, and if you put in the time to get to know them, talk to them about your interests, there are things that can come out of it that you can immediately see the benefit from it.
Thank you. You know, I don't want to read into this too much or put words in either of your mouths, but what I'm also hearing then that's kind of cutting across is there's a space where you belong, you matter, you're noticed, whether it's with, you know, with the Akanksha, with the flexibility and accountability. It's because you matter. It's not just a, you know, a lecture hall of 500 people where, you know, we come and go and aren't recognized or noticed. And for that matter, there's no intentionality or willingness to be flexible. And so, and also just the ability to come around others with shared interests and values that are exciting. And yeah, a shout out in a book. I didn't know that. That's really cool. Yeah, so thank you. I think we have just one more question. So as a final question is, what advice do you have for prospective students in terms of selecting the right counseling program and preparing their applications?
I would say looking for programs that are in line with your values. You know, really looking at the course descriptions, because most of these our programs have the same requirements, right? They're CACREP. If you're looking at you should be looking at CACREP accredited programs, but most of the classes will be the same, but some have, you know, a different focus. Some may, you know, emphasize diversity, inclusion, and social justice things in their descriptions. They may be outright talk about their values, connecting with the students in the program to see what they're able to get from it, and also looking at the research of the professors in the program for sure, to see. That also gives you an idea in general, maybe someone you want to work with, or just what does the program value and what things are important, because either, you know, if you end up doing research, is it in an area that you would like to move forward in, or just making connections with other students and faculty and staff who will propel you forward.
In addition to that, I'm also thinking around the lines of how, again, more international student perspective, but how many years the program is going to take you, what are your options after that based on which visa you're going to get, how many years you can stay back, how long you can work for, if it fits your pockets. Preparing for applications, I remember like it took me months to sit and write down the statement of purpose because all the questions were so personal. Again, they required a lot of self-reflection, but they also required me to read up a few topics such as, say, intersectionality, and then I had to learn certain terms that I'd probably not known before. Yes, looking into research, professors' research. I remember that in my statement of purpose, Dr. Lauka, I had written a little bit about you because I said, I want to learn cognitive behavior therapy from so and so, and then this semester I have that. But also, yes, doing your research into professors that you want to learn from, professors whose research interests matter to you, because you're probably going to meet them, and that might be one of the good conversations that you'll have. And that can be a start of a good collaboration. You can end up publishing papers together. Preparing for applications, starting early, starting way early, because I know that we had to get WES evaluations, we had to ensure that our grades were enough, getting credits transferred, converted. And yes, if it does not sit well with your value, you're never going to be congruent in class. You're not going to be able to put up a facade all day, every day. So finding something that you genuinely enjoy and are able to get through with 3 entire years, because 3 years is a long time, but it's going to fly by as well. But so, yeah, I think that would be my advice for prospective students.
Well, thank you all, and thank you all just for your contributions. I I also want to just take time, I think we have a few minutes left. I want to see, are there other questions in the chat?
Yeah, there's actually one that I think that I keep seeing coming in and out, and Dr. Lauka, you might be kind of in the best position to answer this. So we do have questions about getting licensed. Can you explain how that looks like within the state of Maryland, and then maybe potentially other states like New York or even international students?
Certainly. So I'll start just with Maryland. And this is with most states. You know, each state has their own licensure requirements in the United States, but they all mirror the educational standards of CACREP. And so having a CACREP accredited program is an advantage. So all programs, all licensure boards require that you complete a graduate degree from a CACREP or a CACREP comparable program, which includes a field experience. You then have to complete a licensure exam. One of the nice benefits within our program, so the National Counselor exam is the state licensure exam. It's also a credentialing exam if you are interested in that as well for the National Certified Counselor credential. But for the purpose of licensure, you can take the licensure exam at your final year in the program. So even before you graduate, so you can kind of fast track that application. Now, once you complete your graduate degree, pass the licensure exam, then you have this first tier where you are a licensed graduate professional counselor or an LGPC. And similar to all other licensure boards and licensure requirements, you are now in this first state of residency. You have a provisional license or an associate license, some call it. And with all other states, though, you have to, you get a job, and then you have an approved supervisor. You work for at least 2 years full time while under supervision. Then you sit for another exam and apply. And then after that, you can be licensed as the licensed clinical professional counselor. So that's your license to practice independently. And that basically mirrors most other states. There are a few other states that do require some additional coursework, and those are really in the few. Like California is a big one, and they're the very last state that actually approved had licensure. So in 2009, and so I think there's some of that came up from that. But regardless, one of the other benefits is the counseling compact, which is just in the last 2 years really come about, and Maryland was the first state to sign into that. So 38 other states, if you are in the compact and you are licensed fully, then you can go to any other state and practice independently without having to fulfill all the same licensure requirements. Previously, there was no reciprocity. So going back to, I think New York was brought up. If you get licensed in Maryland, you know, and I don't know off the top of my head if New York is, but there's 38 of the 50 states. So there's a high likelihood that it is, but don't quote me on that. But well, if you're going somewhere else afterwards, then you can also be fully licensed there as well. That was a quick way of responding.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Lauka. So we have a few minutes here, and I'm going to pivot back to our two current students. So one of the questions in the chat box here in the Q&A, I should say, is can both of you talk a little bit about what the interview process was like when you were applying to the program?
Okay. So I gave my interview 1.5 years ago, and it was a 3-hour long interview, and I think it had a writing aspect, it had a reading aspect, and it had 2 focus group discussions. None of them required extreme theoretical orientation, but they were all based on answering ethical and legal concerns that might arise, the rationale behind certain techniques and interventions that we might use. They were also mainly centered around the multicultural and social justice aspect, because our course is I think that's the foundation of the entire program. And knowing how we would interact with, work with, and also counsel clients who were from a different racial, ethnic, and cultural background. It seemed very daunting for me when I thought about a 3-hour long interview, but yes, time flies by. And we had a writing aspect, we had a reading comprehension based on which we had to answer certain questions in a specific amount of time. They basically test your critical thinking skills, they test your ability to answer immediately, they test your ability to, interact with different people who are meeting for the first time. And yeah, I think, it's been a while since I gave my interview, but that's all I can remember.
More than me. Mine was 3 years ago almost. So I would say it sounds like a similar experience. I forgot we had the little writing prompt, but that was a part of it. So it was over Zoom. There is big group discussions as well as the smaller group discussions. And it, we each get time to respond. But I think it's mainly about, it's not really like it doesn't feel like an exam or anything. It does feel, like an interview, but it's more, as far as I could tell, more about like you're thinking through things because you are a prospective student, you aren't in the program. So it's just kind of getting an idea of your processing and decision making and where you are ethically. In terms of how you come to those types of conclusions. But that's what I remember. Hopefully that's accurate.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for both of you for sharing that. And just for our audience who are here, as you know, as you can kind of tell, sometimes the admissions process does change from year to year. So, I think both of you gave a really good response of what it looks like in terms of a Zoom interview, right? There might be a group component to it. A lot of it is focused from faculty asking you very specific questions about your application. So, it is a still formal process of the application or the admissions process. So just come prepared, come, ready to answer the questions the best you can. But definitely, I encourage you all to connect with me, if you want to know more about what the application process does look like for this coming academic year. But with that being said, we are out of time. I do want to respect our panel's time here with us. We are scheduled to end at 3 o'clock. So I do want to thank our panel, students and Dr. and our faculty member for attending this session here with us today. And for the audience, again, thank you for taking some time out of, I'm sure, of your busy schedules to learn more about our MS in Counseling program here at Johns Hopkins with the School of Education. I did leave in the chat box my appointment calendar with the admissions office. So if you want to schedule time one-on-one, I'm more than happy to take some time, whether it's a half hour, an hour, to learn more about you as an applicant, to help you walk through the application process, to give you better clarity of what the program looks like. And I can't promise I always know the answers to the program. And if I don't, I usually do lean on faculty members or other individuals in the admissions team to give you a response that's accurate. Because again, we want to make sure that at this level, in terms of your education, we do respect the time, right, and the money that you're going to be putting in. So from our end, we really want to make sure that you have a really good idea of what our program is before you make that final decision of attending here in the fall. So I want to close just by saying that don't hesitate to reach out to us here in the admissions office. We're more than happy to chat more and, hopefully figure out if this is going to be a good fit for you. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and end this session, and thanks everyone for attending.